Inside Marvel Rivals at the moment, the options for strategists in this game are very limited. Not only that, there's not a lot of genuinely cool heroes to use that would actually attract players to play this category of heroes. This video is going to go over 8 heroes that we can add into Marvel Rivals that will make this category extremely cool. The first hero we have on this list is Black Bolt. Now, the reason why I put him in the strategist category is because I think he can do some insanely good CC attacks and different things that strategists can't do currently within Marvel Rivals, and I think he brings a lot to this game in this category in particular. Now, obviously, he can do healing to his team, and I think they could add that in pretty straightforward, but the main abilities of Black Bolt is not necessarily the healing. Kind of similar to like Rocket and heroes like that, for example. It's almost secondary to what he can actually do. And what he can actually do with his voice, or the kind of sonic voice he has, is he's able to create a barrier in front of his team that blocks incoming projectiles but also deflects them back. So it's kind of similar to like a Doctor Strange Magneto shield. However, instead of it just taking the damage in, it actually projects it back to the enemy team. I think that's pretty insane, and we don't have anything at all like this when it comes to the strategist category in this game. I think it's going to be a good attack or ability that will work to basically send back the damage, and it can kind of work similar to the Mr. Fantastic shield where it only sends a percentage back, but I think this is really good. And it should also be a lot larger as well, the kind of shield that he puts out. The other thing is that his ultrasound can essentially hear enemies through walls, so not only should it make the footsteps of enemy players maybe louder, or allow the teams to hear it louder as well, but also you can see kind of the pitter-patter of the enemy footsteps if it's on a wall close to you or just in their general direction. It doesn't need to show the full outline of the enemy players or anything like that. It can just show the footsteps of where they are, and not exactly what the hero is or the character model or anything like that. I think that would be a pretty cool ability to have for only a couple of seconds. Then also on top of this, I think he can basically push his teammates' projectiles forward even faster. So it essentially adds bullet velocity speeds to his teammates' projectiles. So let's say you're Namor, for example, and it essentially turns his attacks hit scan. I think this would be so cool. So if you time it well with your teammates and you're kind of aiming in the same direction and you're firing in that same direction, then it basically makes all of your team's attack basically hit scan, which is insanely cool as a concept to have Black Bolt on the team, and it adds more than just a healing factor to this character's ability. I think it makes it a bit more dynamic when it comes to the strategist category and what this category of heroes can actually do. The next hero we have is Dr. Octopus. Now, a lot of people want him in the Vanguard category, but I actually think he'd work way better in the strategist category. And the reason for that is because his tentacles can essentially be the healing ability. So he can have as many tentacles as he has teammates. And as long as the tentacles are connected to his teammates, he can basically share that health pool. Kind of similar to Adam Warlock's healing ability. I think that works pretty cool as well. Either that, or it can just give you healing over time as long as you're staying within the range of Dr. Octopus. I think that works extremely well. Now, obviously, his tentacles can do damage and allow him to crawl on walls as well, which would be extremely cool because none of the kind of strategists can do this other than basically Rocket, and kind of Jeff the Shark can kind of do this as well, but it's not really kind of like a dive ability. It's more just the fact that he can basically stay in walls and heal himself. So I do think that would be a really cool way to add in Dr. Octopus into this game, not as a Vanguard, because that would be the most obvious approach, but I think he works better in this category in particular because he's got a lot more tech. The next hero we have is Jubilee, which is such a cool concept in this game, especially just down to the art style. I think having like fireworks and stuff like that in this game would be absolutely insane for our primary attack. I think that would be so cool to see. Not only that, I think she could have like a flashbang as one of her abilities, which basically blind the enemy team so that they can't see what's going on for a short length of time. I think that would be absolutely insane. We don't have anything like that within Marvel Rivals at the moment, and it seems to be such a simple thing, but they could add it in with this hero. Then we also have the ability to make your team immune to explosive or spell field damage. So you will still take the projectile damage or melee damage, but you're immune to explosive and spellfield damage for a short amount of time. I think that'd be such a cool way to incorporate this firework ability that she has into the game. And like I said, she can also explode enemies or have some kind of explosion attack. That'd be something that would be really cool. Just like I said, it will fit in really nicely with the art style of this game. And her skins can be absolutely insane as well, because there's a lot to play around with this hero. So like I said, I think Jubilee would be such a cool character. Next up we have Silver Surfer. Now his kit could be absolutely insane within Marvel Rivals, because he could be the first flying strategist within the game. We don't have any flying strategists within Marvel Rivals at the moment, or Vanguards for that matter, but we've got a lot of DPS heroes that can fly, and this could be a very good counter to that. So when it comes to his first ability, like I said, he can use his kind of hoverboard or whatever it is that he has as a flying tool to basically stay flying constantly. Now that is a main point, because we're going to get onto another hero in a moment. Another thing is that his healing is going to work slightly different to the other strategists in this game, whereas basically the way his healing works is he can output some standard healing, which is not as strong as some of the other on this list or even within the game already, but as he takes in more damage, so as more damage is dealt to him, and he can have like a shield barrier over himself or something like that where he can absorb more damage. Essentially he outputs more healing as he takes damage in, because essentially Silver Surfer is meant to be immortal, kind of similar to like Adam Warlock and things like that, but Adam Warlock obviously has the ability to come back to life. Silver Surfer doesn't have that ability, so he might have a revive ability for his team, which will obviously fit him into the category of revivers like Rocket and Adam Warlock, but he's not able to come back from the dead like Adam Warlock can. So what he can do instead is any damage he takes in, he converts it into more healing that he puts out, and I think that's such a cool way to make this hero obviously feel like he's a lot stronger than he actually would be in the game. The next hero that we want inside the strategist category is the Green Goblin. Now hear me out on this one, because everyone's probably shouting that he should be a DPS, and I kind of want to say differently. The reason why is because heroes like Rocket Raccoon are basically a DPS strategist hybrid, and it works perfectly well in this game, and I think the Green Goblin could be exactly that as well. Now the Silver Surfer, Black Bolt and Jubilee are all strong healers in this game, whereas Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin and Rocket and Adam Warlock would be the kind of DPS style healers. And what is cool about Green Goblin is that he can have his hoverboard, but it works similar to the way Star-Lord's works, so that you can only use it for a short period of time, then he needs to be on the ground for a short period of time, and then he needs to obviously hover again if he wants to use his ability. Now he can spray down healing across his team, so if he flies over his own team, he can kind of spray down some green goo or whatever it is to heal his team up, and then he can also use his pumpkin bombs to throw them as his primary attack. That'd be absolutely insane. So similar to Squirrel Girl's attack, where it obviously does have a fall off and you can't basically throw it super long range, but it does explosive damage, which would make him slightly different to pretty much every other strategist in this game, actually, more or less, because no one has this kind of ability besides maybe the closest thing would be Jeff the Shark. But I think this would be such a cool concept for a strategist in this game, and let's be honest, the Green Goblin will make this category so much more popular than it actually is right now, because he's such a cool hero to use. In general, he'd be such an amazing character that everyone wants to get their hands on, and the skins for this would be ridiculous, especially if we get a Willem Dafoe skin, we get a Hobgoblin skin. There's so many skins to play around with Green Goblin, and I think he'll just be such a cool character. The next hero we have is Taskmaster. Now Taskmaster has the ability to have some of the insanely cool kit in this game, and the reason I say that is because he should have some baseline abilities where he does a melee attack as standard. I think that should be his main ability for damage, and then he's also got the ability to provide damage boost to his own team and also healing to some level. Not quite as strong as some of the other characters, but some level of healing. Now the damage boost I think should be specific to strategists only anyway. I don't think damage boost should be given to DPS heroes like Storm. That should be taken away and changed for something else, because I do think that kind of ability makes the strategist slightly better and slightly more usable than what we have currently at the moment. So I think that should be particular to only the strategist heroes in this game in general, but we'll get onto that. So one of his abilities can do damage boosting, the other one can do healing, and then he's able to steal one ability from a random player in the game. So this could be a Vanguard, a strategist, or anyone, or DPS as well. And he also steals one passive from them as well. So this could, again, could be another random player's passive. So essentially he could have something like basically the wall run mechanics of Iron Fist with maybe like a web sling from a Venom. Or you can have something like the dive from the Venom with maybe like the jetpacks from Star-Lord or something like that. A combination of one passive and one random ability from any other player in the game. And I think that would be such a cool concept because this character will change every single game, so it makes him super dynamic, very different to what we have in the game at the moment. And it would make him different every single time and make him so fun to play, because having that option to basically have such a random kit all the time will never make him play the same every single game. So I think that's such a cool concept, especially in the strategist category. Next up we have Mysterio. Now Mysterio's ability is all smoke and mirrors and kind of all deception based. Kind of similar to Loki, to be honest, but I think they need to make sure they don't make it too similar. And some of the concept ideas I have for Mysterio is, first of all, his healing is basically a big puff of green smoke. So basically you'll smash down a big puff of green smoke and basically the enemy team cannot see inside this smoke. So it's kind of a bit similar to what the Punisher can do, but it lasts a little bit longer obviously and provides healing to your team. There's nothing like a smoke bomb in this game, so basically I think that's essentially the way he would work, kind of similar to a smoke bomb, and that provides healing to yourself and your teammates whilst they're within that smoke bomb. Now not only does this allow him to kind of disappear into the smoke, but it also allows him to teleport as well. I think that'd be pretty cool, maybe to a different location or a location he's past been on. Something similar to that would be pretty cool. Maybe that's a bit OP so they can just stick to the smoke bomb stuff, but like I said, I think that's a really good idea. But his other ability I think would be absolutely insane is the ability to clone your teammates. Now I think this sounds broken, but the way I'm going to describe this is not actually broken. So essentially it's just a distraction tool. It's not actually going to allow you to deal extra damage or anything like that of this nature. Essentially you clone basically your teammates, up to 3 of them, or maybe the whole entire team, to be honest. It could be anything like this, but what this means is it makes it hard for the enemy team to discern which is the real and which is the clone. And then if they attack the clones, for example, the bullets just go through them. They don't deal any damage. The clones don't deal damage, they don't take damage, nothing happens, they just basically are a hologram. And then basically it just makes it harder for the enemy team to know which player is which. Now how they balance this, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's only 2 of your teammates you can hologram, or maybe it's all the team, I don't really know, but I think this is such a cool concept. Finally we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I think they should be a combo character similar to Cloak and Dagger. You can switch between the two. And what I find really cool about this one is basically Ant-Man would be the damage dealer and Wasp would be the healer. So it could be either which way, to be honest, but it makes more sense to do it this way. And the ultimate is the cool part, so we'll get on into that in just a moment. But when it comes to Ant-Man, essentially he's got his normal state where basically he can basically fight, punch, whatever he does. He can summon some ants to do an attack as well. And I think that would be a really cool way to obviously use this hero in general. So basically he summons ants to deal damage and basically go towards the enemy. And then also he can basically punch and kick them as well and do some kind of ranged attack to some extent. So that's his abilities pretty much. Then there's the Wasp. So when you switch into the Wasp, you summon bees or wasps essentially that basically go towards your team and heal them up. Or it can deal some small damage or tick damage to basically enemy players, kind of similar to what Dagger can do as well. So Dagger still deals damage even in that state, but it's not quite as high as the damage that Ant-Man can do. So like I said, tick damage and also healing the teammates. So as you switch between the two, you need to use both heroes in conjunction with each other. But where it gets interesting is basically when you use Ant-Man, for example, and you use your ultimate, basically you get a DPS style ultimate instead of getting a support style ultimate. So essentially you'd go large with Ant-Man and you can basically stomp on the enemies, dealing damage or whatever it is. I think that'd be such a cool thing to see in the game in general. And then if you switch into the Wasp, you then get an ultimate that is basically support based instead. So whatever she can do, fly around healing the team, she can do something completely else, or summon like big wasps that basically come in and heal the team up, something like that. I think basically having 2 different ultimates for the same character would be such a cool concept, because you need to pick one or the other. And it's not like we haven't seen something similar to this in the game already, because basically the Hulk basically has essentially 2 ultimates. I know it doesn't really sound like it, but he's got the Bruce Banner, he ultimates into the Hulk, then he ultimates from the Hulk into obviously the Super Hulk. So it's not like this is something strange we haven't seen before. And I think this would be absolutely insane for a character. It's not something that we've seen yet, which is basically like a double ultimate in the same hero. And I think that'd be a really cool concept in general. So that is the list of strategists. There's so many heroes here, as you can see, and there's so many more we haven't talked about within this video. So if you have any ideas for cool strategists within Marvel Rivals, leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.